let's bust 5 Inca myths you probably still believe. Number 1. The Inca Empire lasted for centuries. Let's clear up a big one right away. When people say the Incas, they're actually misusing the word. The term Inca originally referred only to the emperor himself. The people? They were the Quechua or Andean people. So yeah, most of us have been casually misnaming an entire civilization this whole time. Like I did in this YouTube video title and will keep doing throughout this video. SEO referencing, you know. But hey, you know better now. Now here's the real kicker. The Inca Empire wasn't some ancient power that ruled for centuries. The empire, officially called Tawantinsuyu, rose in the early 1400s and was conquered by the Spanish by the 1530s. That's roughly 1 century as a unified empire. Yep, all that monumental architecture, massive road systems, and imperial might. It all happened in less time than most countries today have had a national anthem. But don't let the short timeline fool you. They were insanely efficient. In under a century, the Inca managed to build over 40,000 kilometers of roads, without horses, wheels, or carts. Perform successful skull surgeries. Yes, brain surgeries, with survival rates estimated at 80 to 90%, which was better than European surgeons at the time. Develop agricultural systems that let them farm in the mountains like absolute pros, and unite over 100 different ethnic groups across one of the most challenging terrains on Earth. So while the Inca Empire was young, its impact was massive. They didn't need centuries, just a few decades to build a civilization that still blows historians' minds today. They weren't ancient, they were fast. Think of them as the startup that went global in record time, until the Spanish showed up like a corporate merger nobody asked for. Number 2, Machu Picchu was the capital of the Inca Empire. Some people think Machu Picchu was the bustling capital city of the Inca Empire, but that's not quite right. The real capital was Cusco, a vibrant city nestled high in the Andes, which served as the political, administrative, and cultural center of the empire. Cusco was where the Sapa Inca, the emperor, ruled from, where officials met, and where the empire's main religious and governmental activities took place. It was a major hub with grand palaces, temples, and plazas, basically the heart of everything Inca. Machu Picchu, on the other hand, was something very different. Rather than being a capital or administrative center, it was more like a royal retreat or a sacred ceremonial site hidden away in the mountains. Think of it as a private getaway for Incan elites, a luxurious mountain sanctuary where the emperor and his court could escape the political hustle and bustle. It was built around the mid-1400s, and its location high above the Urubamba River offered stunning views, strategic seclusion, and religious significance. The site includes temples, terraces, and agricultural areas, which suggests it was a place for both worship and self-sustaining living. Now here's a twist. Contrary to popular myth, Machu Picchu was never really lost. While Western explorers only discovered it in 1911 thanks to Hiram Bingham, the local Quechua people always knew about it. They preserved knowledge of the site for centuries, though it was mostly unknown outside their communities. So, the idea of Machu Picchu as a lost city is more a myth created by outsiders than reality. This rediscovery was really just Western eyes catching up. So when you think about Machu Picchu, don't picture it as the Inca version of Washington, D.C. or a sprawling capital city. Instead, imagine a breathtaking mountain retreat, a sacred place designed for spiritual ceremonies and royal relaxation. It was a carefully chosen location combining practical farming, religious worship, and elite living. A true mountain masterpiece, but far from the political powerhouse that Cusco was. Number 3, the Inca used their gold as currency. All right, let's clear up a golden misconception. Despite what you might think from all those shiny artifacts and blingy treasures, the Incas did not use gold as money. Nope, there was no cash, coins, or wallets stuffed with Inca dollars. In fact, the Inca Empire had no currency at all. So, if they weren't flashing gold coins or bartering with bling, how did their economy work? Well, it was all about reciprocity and something called mita, basically a mandatory labor tax. Instead of paying taxes with cash, which didn't exist, people paid with work. You might spend a season building roads or farming royal fields, and in return, the state made sure your community got fed, clothed, and cared for. It's like a giant ancient "you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours" system, but on a massive empire-wide scale. Imagine this, instead of tossing gold coins around like a rap video, the Incas were more into work now, eat later. Need food? Help build a bridge. Want a nice cloth? Help with the harvest. The government collected the goods and redistributed them based on need. It was basically ancient communism. Everyone pitched in their work, and the empire made sure food got shared around, but luckily without the people starving part. Now about that gold, while the Incas didn't use it as money, gold was still hugely important, but more as a symbol of power and spirituality. Gold was the metal of the gods, especially associated with the sun god Inti. They covered temples, masks, and statues in gold to honor their deities and show off their imperial status. Think less currency, more bling for the divine. Number 4, the Incas had no system to record information. All right, first off, yes, it's true the Incas didn't have a written language, no traditional alphabet like the Romans or Greeks, no fancy script flowing across papyrus or stone tablets here. But don't mistake that for a lack of record-keeping skills. The Incas had a mind-blowing system called quipu. What's a quipu, you ask? Imagine a bunch of colorful strings with all kinds of knots tied in them. It might sound like the world's most complicated friendship bracelet, but it was actually a sophisticated data management tool. The Incas used quipus to keep track of everything from taxes and census counts to agricultural records and military logistics. In other words, it was their way of taking notes, doing math, and running an empire, all without a single letter. Here's the kicker. Despite centuries of study, scholars still debate how exactly the quipu worked. Some believe it was purely numerical. Others think it included some form of storytelling or even proto-writing. Either way, it shows the Incas had their own unique way of recording important info that kept their huge empire running smoothly. So yes, while it's not the alphabet we're used to, the Incas definitely weren't illiterate. They just took a naughty, colorful approach to record keeping. Number 5, the Spanish easily defeated the Incas. Truth, the Spanish conquest was brutal, but it was far from a quick, clean win. Let's clear this up. The idea that a few hundred Spanish conquistadors just waltzed into the Inca Empire, planted a flag, and called it a day? Total myth. In reality, the Spanish walked into a situation that was already a ticking time bomb. When Francisco Pizarro and his crew arrived in the 1530s, the Inca Empire was in the middle of a messy civil war between two brothers, Atahualpa and Huáscar. The two were fighting over who should rule, and spoiler alert, family therapy was not an option. This brutal conflict tore the empire apart from the inside and left it incredibly vulnerable. And if that wasn't bad enough, smallpox and other European diseases had already swept through the region before the Spanish even made serious contact. Imagine your society getting decimated by an invisible enemy while you're also trying to stop your brother from stealing your throne. That's the disaster scenario the Incas were living. Sound familiar? Yep. The same story played out with other pre-Columbian civilizations. Honestly, smallpox was pretty much the MVP for European colonizers across the Americas back in the day. So, yes, the Spanish had steel swords, horses, and gunpowder, which were terrifying advantages. But it's not like they steamrolled the Incas overnight. The Spanish took advantage of the chaos, capturing Atahualpa through trickery, a supposed peaceful meeting that turned into an ambush, and holding him for ransom. The Incas delivered a room literally filled with gold and silver for his release, and Pizarro still executed him. Classy. But here's where the easy victory story really falls apart. The Incas didn't just give up. For years after Atahualpa's death, rebellions kept flaring up. One of the most impressive resistance leaders was Manco Inca, who at first cooperated with the Spanish, but eventually led massive uprisings. When things got too hot, Manco Inca escaped to the jungle fortress of Vilcabamba and founded the so-called Neo-Inca state, which continued to resist Spanish control for nearly 40 years. The Spanish may have won major battles, but they never had full control without constant pushback. The fall of the Inca Empire wasn't a quick collapse. It was a long, painful system crash, complete with guerrilla warfare, betrayals, sieges, and a lot of frustrated conquistadors wishing their horses came with the jungle mode. If these myths blew your mind, hit that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment telling me which civilization you want us to debunk next.